the Authentic Health Coaching Show. My name is Tom Corson-Knowles, founder of Authentic Health Coaching. We want to thank you for subscribing to the Authentic Health Coaching Show today. And so we have an amazing free gift for you with Dr. Corson's top 5 nutrition tips. It is the #1 guide to taking your health to the next level. And you can get it for free at AuthenticHealthCoach.com. Today on the show we have an incredible guest for you, Stephanie Mansour. And Stephanie is one of the top health and fitness trainers in the United States. She's based in the Chicago area, and you've probably seen her on CNN and many other news sites and TV sites as a frequent lecturer on fitness and why it's so important to put fitness into your life and some easy ways that you can incorporate fitness into your daily life and have fun with it. And today on the show, Stephanie really talks about confidence, developing that confidence within so that you love yourself, you love who you are, and that fitness just becomes a part of your natural lifestyle. And so many people out there, they hate how they look, they hate how they feel, and they hate their bodies. They're not happy with what they have. And that's okay. It's okay to be unhappy, because that's the sign that you can make some changes. And Stephanie really shows you in this interview today how you can make some powerful changes really simply, really easily in your health and your fitness. So take great notes, enjoy the show, and make it an amazing day.
Well, Stephanie, thanks so much for coming on the Authentic Health Coaching Show. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about you and your background and why you got interested in fitness?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Tom. And the reason why I started getting into health and fitness is because, growing up I was always a very active, tomboy. And when I got to college, that's when things kind of went downhill. I suffered from severe anxiety and had a horrible time sleeping, and I had low back pain ever since I was 11 years old. I'm being a dishwasher, and everything was kind of just like collapsing in front of me health-wise. So I was able to get off of my prescription anxiety and sleeping pills after I started doing yoga once a week, and then I stopped going to the chiropractor after I started doing Pilates once a week, and I started losing, the freshman 15, which in my case was the freshman 20 that I had gained. I started losing that by starting an aerobics TV show in college that forced me to actually exercise every day like I had been doing, previously when I was a kid, and also becoming a little bit more in tune to my body and, how I felt after I had a whole bag of Doritos versus a huge plate of vegetables.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So after doing that, I decided I wanted to pursue a career in television. So I worked in television for a couple of years and then decided that the only way to really get my message, which was, holistic living and taking your life and your thoughts into your own hands, was to start my own thing. So I started Step It Up with Steph in 2008 and got all of my certifications, yoga, Pilates, personal training, and life coaching, and have just, created my whole spiel and gone from there.
Awesome. So tell me, what does holistic fitness mean to you?
Holistic fitness to me is all about the mind-body connection. So I was actually just talking with someone this morning. You could, let's say we're talking about working out, you could go into a gym and just kind of go through the motions of the equipment and the treadmill and, cardio and weights. Or you could be a little bit more conscious and mindful about how you're doing these things and maybe using less weight, but really feeling, your biceps more when you're doing a bicep curl. Or in regards to eating, being really mindful and aware of how you feel after you eat a cupcake. Do you feel like a sugar high and maybe a little bit bloated and lethargic from the fattening carbs and sugar? Or do you feel energized like you do after you eat a protein smoothie? So when I say holistic, I really mean like your body and your mind as a whole united together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that term's used so much, and I think a lot of people kind of get confused, like what does holistic actually mean?
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people think it's like, really alternative or maybe, really far out there, even sort of like hippie-type concepts, like, again, I'm using like generalizations and stereotypes, but To me, it's really a little bit more like mainstream and accessible to everyone, regardless of any of your beliefs or, habits. It really is necessary in order for you to be completely fit and healthy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The mind and the body, they're so connected. And, self-esteem is obviously a big issue for people, and self-confidence when they're talking about a workout plan or losing that weight like you talked about when you were in college.
Right.
So tell us about that. Like, how does our self-esteem affect our workout plan? How does our body affect our self-esteem?
Right. Well, so the really big thing that I feel sets me apart from other health and fitness experts in the industry is that I focus on what's going on inside first and then focus on what's going on outside. So, I don't want to Band-Aid the problem. I want to, get into the wound and figure out why we need a Band-Aid in the first place, So I really focus on how people feel about themselves and about their bodies because, Tom, if I, hated you, I wouldn't be nice to you. Or if I was nice to you, maybe I'd bring you a treat once in a while, but I wouldn't actually, genuinely deep down be nice to you all the time if I didn't like you. So same thing with your body. If I don't like my body, why would I be nice to my body? Maybe I would for a 7-day diet plan. I'd follow it very rigidly and be really strict. But after that, how am I going to maintain any weight loss or any positive effects that I felt from that? I really need to like myself and love myself and want to care for myself first, and then my healthy eating and workout plans will stick.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so true. It's like if you had a spouse and you told your spouse, you're not that important and, I don't really like you that much, obviously they wouldn't stick around. And if a lot of people, but they have those inner feelings, inner thoughts about their body, and so they don't make the positive changes that they know they should be making because they have those bad feelings and emotions attached to it.
Right, exactly. And, to anyone who says to me, oh, the emotions don't really affect, what goes on the outside, when everyone's been excited, and when you're excited mentally, your body responds. So whether that be butterflies in your stomach or, heart racing or whatever, you physically feel something if you're really excited. Same thing if you're really sad. You don't see people crying, standing up really, really straight. You see people crying hunched over, like their heart is physically collapsing because their chest is collapsing. And, we really, what's going on mentally is really being shown physically in everyone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you start with the mental end. So what are some of the things you start with to get people to build that self-confidence and that healthy posture and healthy attitude?
Yeah, good question. So how I normally start with people is I figure out, so most, women will come to me and say, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. And I say, okay, great. Why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Oh, I have this event in a few months, and I just really need to look hot in my dress, Okay, well, what's going to happen after the event? Oh, well, I'm not sure, but hopefully I'll just keep the weight off. So to me, you want to lose 10 pounds, there needs to be a deeper reason, and it can't just be that you want to lose 10 pounds. So I dig deep and find out what would that mean to you if you lost 10 pounds. Well, I'd feel more confident in my clothes, or I'd feel more sure of myself when I'm asking for a raise, or I'd feel more, sexy towards my spouse or towards men, or, whatever it is, but it all comes back to feeling more confident and, self-assured, That's why everyone wants to look and feel better. So to me, I don't want your goal to be that you're losing 10 pounds. I want your goal to be, hey, I want to feel more confident. I want to feel more self-assured. I want to have more energy. These are not things that we can tangibly measure on a scale like we can with pounds, but they're more profound and impactful because they're feelings that we can feel, So that's necessary to, really excavate, underneath the losing 10 pounds and see what you actually really want first, and then jumping on board the workout and eating plan. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I've started working with clients who have started with New Year's resolutions, a 10-item long list, and they've completed all of the resolutions except one, and that last resolution is, I want to lose 10 pounds because I hate the way I look. And, they come to me in October of that year and say, why hasn't this one come true? And I say, well, why, we're looking at this in a negative way. Like, you're hating on yourself, so, you're not in sync. Your mind and your body aren't in sync, so let's get in sync. And sure enough, the first client who came to me, with a situation, within a few months, she had lost it. She had lost her weight. And more than the weight, she actually felt really good about herself, just from us tweaking how she presented the goal to her mind. Mm-hmm. So what you say to yourself is really powerful, and how you say it especially.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what are some tips and tricks that you have for changing the way that you talk to yourself?
For changing the way you talk to yourself?
Yeah, the inner voice that we all have that says, you can't do it, you're not going to lose the weight, you're ugly, you're not important.
Right. Yeah, well, and that's a really powerful voice. So a couple things. One, when people first become aware of how they're talking to themselves, and when they see themselves doing it over and over, it's really easy to get annoyed and even angry with yourself. So the first thing is having compassion for yourself. So just as, you wouldn't have a best friend tell you that you look fat, or tell you that you're ugly, or tell you that you shouldn't wear this outfit because you can see all of your, stomach rolls. You shouldn't be saying those types of things to yourself. Even if you think that, you should try to stop yourself. But if you don't stop yourself, you need to also have compassion, because you're learning and you're changing, and it's a process. So, number one, don't beat yourself up over the negative self-talk. Just recognize it and try to replace it with positive self-talk. So the second step is, how do we put that positive self-talk into our brains and into our everyday life? And I really, take a kind of in-your-face approach to this. I have all my clients write down on sticky notes parts of their bodies or parts of themselves that they liked or that they wish they liked. So let's say, your stomach may not be flat right now, but you want it to be flat. So I say right on a sticky note, I love my flat stomach. And then put that in your bathroom mirror, or put that somewhere where you see it every single day, and you continue saying it to yourself. And it may feel like you're lying to yourself at first because you actually don't like your stomach, but what we're trying to do is reprogram your subconscious, because psychologically your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what you've actually experienced and what you say to yourself. So if you constantly tell yourself the same thing over and over and over again, you're going to believe it and you're going to act like that's true. So if you start believing that you have a flat stomach, you're going to want to do crunches, or you're going to want to work out more, because you like it. You're believing that it's flat, so you're acting like it is. So, at first people, Tom, have a hard time grasping this, and they still just, okay, Steph, I'll put the sticky notes up. And they do it, but after, a month of working with me, they normally come back and say, wow, this is really helping me. I'm using sticky notes for everything, even related to things, that you're not helping me with. Mm-hmm. So it's really good to just use that to reprogram your head.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's so important, is making your environment support you. And by putting the sticky notes out there, you're constantly reminding yourself, that you need to change your focus and change your thoughts on what you really want instead of on what you don't like about yourself. And, it's
right.
like you could have two people listen to this interview with you, Stephanie, and they're both overweight, and they both say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and get that flat stomach and, feel really great about myself. And one of them will go and do it, and they'll be so successful, and they'll be so happy, and the other one will start and they'll quit. And the only difference is they're subconscious. Our biggest obstacle is ourselves. We always self-sabotage ourselves and hold ourselves back from what we really want.
Yeah. I mean, and there are so many reasons, too, especially in regards to weight loss. Just talking to some clients, some examples, people, are sometimes afraid to lose weight or afraid to work towards having the body and the life that they want because it's going to change possibly other people's perceptions of themselves. Or let's say you constantly talk to someone about your weight, and that's the basis of your relationship. And once you are happy with your weight and you don't want to talk about that anymore, what's going to happen to your relationship with that person who that's all you talked about this? with. So there's some fear in losing relationships or having relationships change because you change. And, it's just one example of a lot of different ways that we do stand in our own ways. And it's not like we need to get mad about it. It's just we haven't really thought about how we're sabotaging ourselves. And so it's important, to reflect that, especially with, people who are, like, holistic, like you and myself, because we get how hard it is to get out of your own way, especially if you don't even know that you're in your own way.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and you're so right that relationships do play a huge role in it. Sometimes there's a lot of people out there that will just enable you. They'll say, oh, it's okay. Right. Don't worry about it. You don't really have to try that hard. You don't have to go to the gym today.
Right.
Eat this
right.
cake for dessert. And
right.
it's not that they mean to hurt you. They don't. They love you and they care about you, but that's just their habits and that's just what they do. And they kind of hold you back because they don't push you to that next step like a coach would or a fitness trainer would.
Right. Exactly. And, I also tell people, too, when other people may say those things to you that might bring you down or may not, support you as much as you want to be supported, it's because they want company, too, sometimes. They want to feel okay that they didn't work out that day, because if you didn't work out, it's not so bad if they didn't work out. Whereas if you did work out, and didn't go to happy hour with them, then they're going to be, oh, well, shoot, I guess I have to go to the gym now, or oh, I'm not going to go to the gym. Oh, she's so much better than me, or, whatever. Like, it's their issue. It's not yours necessarily when they're not supporting you. It's not that they don't want to support you. It's that, everyone has their own baggage and everyone has their own issues. So,
absolutely. And it takes courage to step up and, especially in front of your friends. I mean, standing up in front of people who don't like you or you don't like, that's not that hard sometimes, Sometimes you just want to stick it to them, right? But sometimes when it's your best friends, your closest friends, or your family, that's when it can be so hard to step up anyways and just do, lose the weight or keep the exercise program going when you've got other people who aren't supporting you that are so close to you.
Yeah. And Tom, that's funny because I remember when I was in college, it was my senior year of college, so, everyone's going out every night. And there was a yoga class. The yoga class I was taking was at 8 a.m. on Saturdays. And, so that meant I couldn't really go out on Friday nights with my friends. And I remember at first I was getting such a hard time from them, like, what, you're going to yoga, you're going to work out, blah, blah, blah. And they just didn't get it. And it's not that they wanted to make me feel bad or not support me. It's that they really wanted me to come out with them, and they knew they weren't going to wake up early and go to the gym. So, like, why am I going, Mm-hmm. But the reason why I continued going is because I valued myself and I valued my yoga so much because I felt how much it was changing me. It was helping me with anxiety and sleeping and everything, just, overall. And when I kept choosing to say yes to myself and to take care of myself, I was seeing, positive changes in all areas of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. And that goes back to the holistic aspect that it's all connected.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really does pay, to be strong and to be committed to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's all about knowing what your priorities are. A lot of people, they just don't know what their priorities are, so when their friends say, hey, come out and party with us and skip your yoga class, a lot of people will just do it because they don't know what their priorities are. They haven't written it down. They haven't really thought about it.
Right. Yeah.
So is goal setting a big part of what you do as well?
The goal setting or, like, writing down your priorities?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have my clients create a mantra, and I also talk about this a lot for people who follow me on Facebook or in my newsletter, setting a mantra, so this positive, kind of story that you want your life to be like. So you have the flat stomach, you have the energy, you're working out X many times a week, you're eating, this, every few hours, or, whatever your plan is, like, you feel great because you're doing these things. And you repeat it to yourself a few times a day like it's actually happening right now so that you continue reprogramming your subconscious. So that's how I work with goals. and then the priorities, one of my big priorities is figuring out, like we were talking about, Tom, like the people in your life. So who is your support system? Who are your cheerleaders? And, it may be that the people close to you are not. So it's in your best interest to maybe not share certain things with them if you don't want to be dragged down. So really picking and choosing who your support system is and having them help hold you accountable, not necessarily just to like a workout or just to, an eating plan, but holding yourself accountable to yourself, and helping empower you to make decisions on your own, Like, well, if you don't want to come meet me for dinner and you'd rather go to the gym, that's fine. I'd like to meet you for dinner, but I totally understand if you feel like you need to go to the gym and if you just want to, like, honor your commitment to yourself. That's the kind of support we want. At times, yes, we want someone to say, you know what, forget about this, go to the gym. You have to go to the gym. Someone to be more forceful, but you don't need that all the time. You just need to know that the people and your support system have your best interest in mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it also goes to kind of the concept of like social proof or social support, is that when you tell people what your goal is, to lose that weight or to get that flat stomach or whatever your goal is, then it's like you have to do it because you're like committed to it because people actually know about it. But a lot of people, they have those goals inside, but they don't tell anyone because they're afraid of what other people are going to think about them. But
exactly.
When you go out there, if you tell everyone in the office, tell all your friends, all your family, then it's like burning the bridges behind you. There's no escape. People are gonna know if you didn't do what you said you were gonna do.
Right. Yeah. I actually have a friend of mine from high school. We kind of lost touch and, reignited our friendship on Facebook, and she's trying to lose 100 pounds. And she's been telling me about this, for months. And finally I said, Jen, why don't you start a blog? Why don't you use Facebook and Twitter and all this social media to get your own support system rallying behind you? And, I've gone on TV and done television interviews about this as well, using social media as your cheerleader, as your support system, because once you put it out there and once you're asking for support, people love giving thumbs up or giving motivational comments or saying, hey, great job, and who doesn't like hearing that, So my friend actually started her blog and, posts on Facebook, posts on Twitter, and she's getting a lot of positive feedback and encouragement from, yes, her friends, but also, random people that have found her on the web. So that's a great point. Really vocalizing your goals and putting it out there is really key.
Absolutely. And I think social media is a great way now. I mean, it's free. It's what helped the revolution in Egypt and the Middle East, and it's such a powerful tool, and yet it can be applied to something as simple as losing 10 pounds, as getting that flat stomach.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Great. Well, tell us a little bit more about, your website and kind of what you do and how you help people.
Sure. So my website, it's brand new. It's stepitupwithsteph.com. That's Step It Up with Steph, Steph. And what do I do? So a few things. One, I do television and radio interviews with this whole, holistic concept in mind. So I really talk about the mental side of getting in shape and sticking to a workout plan or a healthy eating plan. And I also am a firm believer in, getting fit and being healthy anywhere, anytime. So, and making it fun. So I have, Halloween workouts, Christmas present ab workouts, ways to eat healthy when you're at summer barbecues this past summer, just like little tips and kind of tricks that you can do to be more, as a whole in your whole life, holistically more healthy and fit. Along with the television and radio, I also do, I have my weekly newsletter that I send out. If you go to stepitupwithsteph.com, you can go in the right-hand corner and click Step It Up, and I send out free workout videos and all of these little tips along with my blog posts. And then here in Chicago, I work with high-powered females, so, executives of companies or attorneys or doctors, and I go into their homes and I do in-home yoga, Pilates, personal training, and body image and confidence coaching with them. So a lot of them are, really busy and have families and may travel a lot. So I come to them and kind of, bring the workout to them, the mental and the physical workout. And then I also offer one-day intensives for people not from Chicago or who just want like a full day with me to go over any, body image and confidence issues, and also we videotape your workouts so you can follow them on your own. So I really kind of, offer something for everyone. I also have a 30-day workbook, 30 Days to Love Your Body and Your Life, and it's an instant download. It's all mental exercises, and it's accompanied with 30 videos with me discussing each of the 30 days. So that's been really powerful because, women around the world are able to access what I'm doing and just download it to their computer, and it's really, unlike anything else in the health and fitness industry because I'm really focusing on the mental side of things. And I've gotten so much positive feedback and results from that, so I'm really happy with the workbook.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I know that's kind of a lot. Do you have questions?
Yeah, well, share some stories with us, because I think one of the keys to reprogramming your subconscious, like what we've been talking about, is to see other people do it. Because the truth is that if anyone can do something, then you can do it too, because we're all just human beings with the same struggles and challenges and weaknesses. So let's talk about some stories that can really inspire people, stories from your clients and successes they've had.
Sure. So in regards to even just the workbook, which isn't even any, private time with me, I've had people tell me that, hey, Steph, I just got your workbook. I'm only on day 5. I haven't been to the gym in 2 years. But even after just 5 days of doing the workbook, like I'm realizing that I've been the only one standing in my way of going to the gym and working out. So this woman, she didn't think she could even afford a gym membership. That was another thing that was holding her back. But she realized that she was the only barrier in preventing herself from getting a gym membership. So she went to a gym, signed up for a year-long gym membership, and even signed up for personal training. And now she's training to compete in a martial arts competition at the end of the year. So she found even, a part of fitness that she's now so passionate about that she's training 5 days a week for, when like 6 months ago she wasn't even going to a gym or working out on her own. So just, getting like email after email from this person who I never even had met is just really inspiring. And I think I have her on my website too, sharing her story with others. And then I've had, other people email me after the first day of going through the workbook saying that they, are so happy they found this and they cannot believe the possibilities that they're seeing for themselves, on a whole new level with this new way of thinking. So just, that's really, like, inspirational for me, too, when I'm creating content, because I love hearing how people are benefiting from something like this workbook, when I'm not even in person with them. Doesn't that sound cool?
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's my favorite part of being, a nutrition coach and a health coach, is just seeing the results that people get when they, just make those changes that they've been wanting to make for so long but have been putting off. And when you can inspire someone to step it up, like you say, step it up with Steph, right?
Right.
And it's just so inspiring. It's so awesome to see someone make those changes and to just be so grateful for the support that you gave them. It's really gratifying.
Yeah. It really is, and every day when I go to a client, I'm, humbled, because someone new every day will say, wow, like, you really changed my life in that regard, or I don't know what I would have done without you. I've had clients who, suffered from insomnia like myself, or, they used to be sick all the time, and I started working with them. And, even just earlier this week, one of my clients said, this is the first time that I slept throughout the night for more than 6 hours since my children were born, starting 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. And, she was like, and this is all because of what we've been doing. The in-home yoga and Pilates and personal training that I was doing with her, has really impacted her. So for someone to say, they've had such a great night's sleep, that's just one aspect of this. But then also for people, who've tried everything to lose weight, diet after diet for decades, literally decades, Tom. And then, I start working with them, and it's like, we're changing their eating and we're changing what they're doing with their body. But really, they've got the gusto and they've got the will now to really value themselves. And it's not about willpower, but it's about your own personal will to make it happen because you want it for yourself, So just kind of like igniting that passion and excitement, especially, almost every client of mine who I go into the gym with, after a couple of weeks, they're like, wow, I don't even know who I am because I actually like working out, whereas for the past few years they've been a couch potato, so it's really interesting to see, the deeper work that's going on here with everyone that you work with. So.
Absolutely. It's just so awesome to see those changes, and, it just feels so good, to help people.
Right.
And
right. Exactly. And then, they're able to better help their families. They're better able to, produce at work or find things that they're passionate about. It's like this is all, I'm really happy for them too, but I'm making them happier, or I'm helping facilitate their happiness so then they can spread more happiness and help other people. So it's like a cycle of kind of like giving that we're involved in. So it's great.
That's so true, and you don't have to be a fitness trainer or a nutritionist or a doctor to help someone with their health or to inspire them to get started on a workout plan. If you're listening to this right now and you go make those changes for yourself, you can inspire your friends to make those changes too, and you can have, you can be the one that changes their life and that touches their life and that makes a difference in their life.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Well, awesome.
Yep.
Well, Stephanie, I know you've touched so many lives today with your message, and I just want to thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Tom. My pleasure.
Hey there, it's Tom Corson-Knowles again. Hope you really enjoyed the show today with Stephanie. Wasn't that incredible? Come join us at AuthenticHealthCoach.com for more amazing health, nutrition, and fitness education. We're here absolutely to support you and to help you and to give of our time and our expertise and our energy for you. So wishing you an absolutely incredible day. Make it a great one. Take care.